Hello, and this is Husky here. Welcome back to my channel, and I am so excited because if you guys didn't hear, they just released the first Stormgate gameplay footage, which I have been waiting for a very long time. I am super excited for this, and I didn't get a chance to make a video or even watch the gameplay footage right when it was announced like a day or two ago. So, you know, some people have already seen this. A lot of people are already talking about it. I've seen other streamers and stuff mentioning it, but I haven't spoiled myself just yet. So I'm going to be reacting to it, giving any insight that I might have. I honestly don't think I know much more than everybody else that has access to this footage now because everything is so new, but there's so little information compared to what the entire game is going to be at launch. But this is so exciting. It's kind of bringing me back to StarCraft 2 when they first announced it, and they were just kind of like spoon feeding us little bits of information. Well, that is exactly what's happening. So I'm going to try and react to this live. I'm going to try and do it all in one take. We'll see if I'm super rusty with this talking on the fly while controlling the computer and all that. So let me see if I can switch to the video correctly. There we go. So I'm so excited for this, you guys. I am so excited. So here we go. I'm reacting to it live, and this is, I believe, their logo, I'm assuming. So cool, man. And honestly, I gotta say, it's almost a little bit of a throwback to Blizzard. All of their intros, you know, with the Blizzard animation of the logo, it's always obviously, well, it's Blizzard, so it was kind of Frost themed, or like you kind of got a Frost vibe. That's exactly what's going on here. Man, this microphone really getting up in my business, but kind of makes me remember the old Blizzard days of always nerding out on their kind of intro. And then here we go. Now, in the top left side, and again, if you want to watch this without me rambling on, I'll link down below to where you can watch the whole trailer. I won't be talking. Obviously, I am going to be talking, so I'll be stopping it, possibly rewinding it to react to all of that. But this is literally like the first frames of actual gameplay that you're seeing. Obviously, it's a little bit of a staged scenario here, as these things usually are. But you can start to see some of the first units there. And what I assume is going to be the siege tank. As, you know, the siege tank is such an iconic unit, I think they wanted something similar. And here we go. Now, I will say that they are only showing one of the races. They have said, I believe the official term is at least 3 races. So that could be 3, it could be 4, maybe 5. Probably not. 5 would be absolutely bananas. But they are only showing one of the races right now. So you're going to be seeing a mirror matchup for this, which kind of goes without saying because that's basically what you're seeing right here. Although I will say, oh man, they're doing the split screen thing. I'm going to have to be talking about multiple things at once. But one thing that is super awesome is, we'll talk about the specific units in a little bit, but I love how there's basically what is a Terran Marine and also a Protoss Zealot in this army, and that is something that's such a unique dynamic, because I feel like in Brood War you had the Firebat, which was never that great, but was still a fun unit to use, and you had the Marine to kind of back it up. Well, this is similar, but I think they're going for something more effective, because everyone knows Zealots are pretty darn good, and I always thought that that was one interesting game design aspect. Looks like they have the medic unit in the back as well, and I believe that is the upgrade. The you can see my mouse on here, yeah. The upgrade of, I think it's from these healer guys. They can either attack or heal their own units. I believe that is what they are doing right there. However, with all these, I'm just going to be calling them siege tanks, honestly, at this point. Just launching in the back. You can see how slow the orbs are moving, but the units, as they step into it, going to be taking a lot of splash damage there. And then down the bottom right side, I know that these are the scout unit, which it's these little mechanical dogs down here. I believe they're a robot. That's really made for scouting. I think the idea was there is that it's not very intuitive to have to make players send their first worker to go scout. So I think they were literally like, press the scout button, you get a scout, go scout with it. So what I'm really curious to see as this game progresses is, or as it evolves, maybe is the right term, I wonder, is using scout units for this kind of surround. Like, I think they're kind of going for like the Zergling vibe, you know, getting a nice surround. I wonder if this will be actually practical at all, or if having this many scout units is actually basically worthless, because it's all these units and they're only attacking like 5 of the Marines. I guess there's more than that. And, you know, they are able to get us around and clean that up. Obviously, can't tell if the resource cost is effective, whatever. But man, it sure is fun to watch. And this is like a lot of stuff to keep track of. I might honestly just go back and rewatch all that. And hey, It's our boy TLO. I actually recently posted like a montage of his. It's so exciting to see him involved with Stormgate. Everybody knows and loves TLO. Obviously, he's such a kind of a fun player when it comes to games. He finds ways and unique ways to kind of do strategies that no one would ever think of to actually use. And I think that that's why it's so awesome to me to see him involved with Stormgate in any way. I can't imagine a much better guy to help with feedback, because he's also really good. And that's the thing that is difficult when you're trying to balance a game, is like, yeah, you want to balance for one aspect of the player base, and which is the majority of the player base, which is the casual players, but also to have a thriving pro scene, you obviously need a balanced game at the highest level. So I think TLO is great. And if you guys follow me on Facebook, you know this, but I actually did visit the, I want to say Stormgate offices, technically Frost Giant offices, but obviously Stormgate's their main game that they're working on. And I was able to play a couple of games. And at the time, I believe that TLO was giving them feedback, which was super awesome to see. I got to see him with his micro just a little bit, only for a few minutes. It is insane. So I don't think you'll necessarily see a lot of it in this showcase, his abilities, but he is already like, well, probably the number one ranked player in the world right now, because there's only a handful of players. But honestly, seeing these new units in the hands of a creative mind such as TLO is very exciting for me, and I can't wait to see exactly what him I was gonna say him and his brother, but I don't know if they're, I would assume they're going to be playing, but I'll say they, well, what strategies they come up with, because it's the little one and the big one, which were quite the duo back in the day. So anyways, we'll listen to what he has to say.
Hi guys, this is TLO. Obviously played RTS my entire life, so it's been
a real
privilege for me to be one of the first people to try out Stormgate.
Yeah, he definitely is one of the first players, and that's so cool. And I think that this microphone, man, you know, I'm a little bit out of practice. I was watching all my old videos, and I used to wear a headset with like, and it was so much easier because it wasn't in the way, but the microphones are so much better now than when I was doing StarCraft way back in the day. But I'm going to pause it right here. You can see the main minerals are basically right by what is essentially the command center, as you would kind of expect in most RTS games. And then over on the left side, you can see workers 0 out of 4 is their other resource, which we'll talk about that in just a little bit. But I'm assuming that this game, yeah, I think there's a timer down here, 1 minute and 28 seconds. So it's already started. They've already built these first additional buildings, and you can kind of get a little bit of insight into their UI with this. And I do apologize that my face, hold on, look at this. In real time, I can move myself up here. Oh man, the production budget of this is insane. But anyways, down here, you can kind of see the idea that they're having for the UI. And it's interesting because you are seeing things that you're familiar with, but you're also seeing things that you're not familiar with, at least if you only play StarCraft 2. And what I want to look at is it's not QWERTY, it's QWERT. QWERT. Look at those buttons and icons. To me, that looks like it means structures. It means you're attacking units or something. But then there's 2 more swords for the E. I'm assuming that's maybe upgrades. And again, I don't know exactly what these are. But what that tells to me is notice how he doesn't have anything selected on the screen right now. At least I believe so. There's now hotkeys to open up these different production tabs, I'm assuming, so you can actually access everything without having to go back to your base and individually click on buildings or hotkey buildings, which I think is absolutely huge if I'm reading into this correctly, because a big part of StarCraft 2 is that they were able to reduce the amount of APM it takes to produce things, because you can do multiple building selection, you can tab select through buildings and all that, but you still have to set up those hotkeys and you still have to be familiar with it. And to me, what this looks like is they're trying to simplify needless APM, I would say. Like basically, I think they want the focus to be more on like what units are you getting, the resource management, how you're laying out your base, like things that actually have to do with decision making, as opposed to who can click the fastest and who has the best hotkeys. So I think that that's one really cool thing that stood out to me. And when I did play the couple of games, the UI was not even this polished when I played. So to see it basically grow or expand, I'm trying to basically evolve. We're going to stick with that word. Evolve so much in such a little time since I actually played the game is awesome to see. And when I was playing it, they were implementing kind of like being able to hotkey these different important parts of your economy and your macro and your production and all that. So anyways, let's continue.
Really stoked about this match against Kevin. I think I'm going to do some light harass in the early game and then just try to overwhelm him with a massive amount of macro.
All right, so he's saying he's going to do some light harassment followed up by macro, which is kind of how I love to play. I'm such a macro player, man. Not to say that I'm good by any means, but I love macro. I think the games are funner when they're longer. Although maybe it's just because my heart, the APM of my heart gets way too high when it's an early micro game. I just crumble. Another small thing I want to point out, and I think they did mention this actually in an interview, is while this is a 2-player map, I believe, I'm looking at the mini map. I think it's just a 2-player map based on how it's laid out. You'll notice that in the bottom left side, there is a red little dot. And we're currently doing TLO's kind of vision here. And to me, what that says is, and I think they said this in an interview, this is what they want to do, is it's showing you where your opponent is actually spawning at the start of the game. Now, I think they're even going to do this on 4-player maps. And I think that's really interesting because it's taking out some of the RNG of StarCraft. Like, how frustrating is it when you scout the wrong way twice on a 4-player map, and then it completely changes your opening, or you miss a rush, or, you know, I play a lot of Protoss, so it's like, well, do you wall in first with the Forge, or do you do your Nexus first? And a lot of that has to do with if you scout or not. And if you scout the wrong way, you have to play it safe, which puts you at a disadvantage, and your opponent's not even doing anything for that advantage that they now have. So I think that that is the main idea behind that. And maybe I'm looking way too into it, and that's just a UI thing, but I think that that's what they're doing with that. And I'm also going to link down below, guys, to something really, really interesting. They have kind of a kind of like a little fact sheet about the units that are currently announced. And like they talk about the 2 main resources, the main units, and all of that. It's so interesting, kind of the ideas that they have. So I'm going to link down below to that. It was on the Stormgate Reddit, which is moderated by Frost Giant, I believe. So there is a lot of, he has laser eyes for eyes, which is kind of cool. So there's lots of info posted there and lots of verified information. Oh, whoops. Guys, I'm telling you, this production value is insane. Wait. Maybe if I go over here. Look at this, guys. This is like a live stream, only way better. Okay, so we'll just go with that. Mostly just covering up the UI here. And the little scouting dogs right here are attacking each other. Something interesting you'll notice is, see how they have that little purple under them? It looks like when the scouting unit takes damage, it actually gets slowed. And I think that that is to prevent a scouting unit that never, ever dies and it's running around forever. And the scouting unit can attack, which is super interesting. And he was able to repair him there. And we'll be able to finish it off. Hey, what's up, Kevin?
And balance on Stormgate. Today, I'll be trying a fast expansion build, and then I'll try to tech to higher tier units to defend whatever TLO throws at me.
Okay, so he's going to be going for a fast expand. TLO is not. You saw the kind of little scouting skirmish there. And again, I think they're trying to make the scouting more intuitive. Now, another interesting thing you're seeing here is actually, I'm telling you, man, how many times I'm going to bump this mic, is the smaller units can actually run through certain parts of the forest, which is awesome. I don't think they can run through everything. I'm actually not sure because these trees in the middle look smaller and like there's kind of bigger gaps between them. And that also means that larger units cannot get through that section of the map. And so I believe that the Marines and stuff can go through there, but the bigger mech units that you'll see a little bit later cannot go through there. You also see on the map little red exclamation points. I'm honestly not sure what is causing that. Is that a benefit of the scout unit? Where he knows where those units are before actually running into them? I think so. But TLO moving in there, you can see immediately vision is lost, of course, once the scout dies. But he knows that he's going to be coming through, or TLO is going to be coming through there. The workers immediately running over there, I'm assuming to try and build something. Yeah, so they're going to be building what's essentially a cannon. You guys are used to StarCraft 2. You know what cannons are, but there's no bunkers to put these units inside. So they're basically trying to get that up. And it looks like it is actually shooting there. Obviously, the animations they're going to be working on. And this is a great example of what pre-alpha is, where, which, first of all, I'll talk about this a little bit more, I think, later on. But as far as pre-alpha is concerned, the graphics are incredible. If you guys compare the StarCraft 2 pre-alpha to this is already miles ahead of where it was, given StarCraft 2 was not publicly announced for years when it was in pre-alpha. So, you know, you can't really compare apples to apples, but I will say you can see how the turret here is much lower resolution. It's much more basic compared to the Vulcan, which is looking awesome with this big beefy gun. I think this was one of the first units that was designed and that they kind of announced, and you can compare it to the other buildings. So obviously pre-alpha, at this point they're figuring out what buildings do we want, what animations do we want to add in, what is worth our time to focus on. So that is to be expected in pre-alpha, is you'll have units that don't even look like they're from the same game. And then the Vulcan here, it starts to slowly charge up its minigun. And then once it's really shooting, that's when the DPS really starts. which is kind of a cool mechanic. There's nothing in StarCraft 2 like
You
that.
did a lot of worker damage there, so I'm at a pretty bad economic disadvantage. I'm going to have to try some really sneaky tactics, maybe getting an upgrade TLO isn't familiar with, perhaps maybe even luckily creepjacking it.
So he's talking about creepjacking. This game does currently, in its current form, have creeps. Now, they're a little bit different than WarCraft because your heroes aren't leveling up, at least in 1 versus 1. I don't know what 3 versus 3 is going to be like, but in 1 versus 1, there are creeps currently. I believe they're trying to find the balance of, like, is it going to give buffs? Does it give resources? Like, what's the reason for killing creep? And I think in one of the events, they were basically saying they don't want creep to be a win harder mechanic. They just wanted to add in some flavor and some dynamic to the game. So we'll see how that plans out. But for them, but it does look like basically essentially the dropship right here, dropping those good old Vulcans. You can see how long it takes them to charge up. Now, this mechanic is so interesting because the thing about RTS that everyone talks about, at least when it comes to will it be a pro game or not, is the responsitivity. How well the units respond. And a lot of that has to do with shooting. Like, think of a Vulture in StarCraft 1. You can, like, do all these crazy moves where it's just like shooting and scooting, basically. But this one, it's a different mechanic where it has to charge up. However, you can also move the units around with their dash, the Vulcan, that is, with their dash, to kind of keep the pressure on while they're still shooting. It's a really interesting mechanic. Kind of reminds me of good old TF2. And you can see that they're able to chase down a few of these units, get a kill or two that they may not necessarily got. But you can see how long it takes to charge up. And that little Marine doesn't stand a chance, but he is going to go ahead and kill those chickens. And you can see that it did give a resource there, plus 50, plus 0. But again, I don't know that anyone's expecting the creeps to not evolve. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to continue evolving and all of that. So we will continue. Looks like we got the good old siege tank in the back here as he does try and micro the Vulcan. Doing some damage here, but is it actually doing damage or is it just saving those Vulcans? That is the real question. You can see them chasing each other.
I'll attack again from the right side through the light trees, but this time we'll bring in a larger force from the left side as well. And I think I'll be able to out-micro him here. He has a more static mech army, I believe, and my bio unit should be able to touch.
Cool. I just love watching TLO talk. I can watch him talk all day. So you can see right there, the Vulcan's able to actually essentially cut down those trees. And again, I'm not sure if you can do that everywhere. And maybe you can, actually. Those trees do look like the trees just a little bit here to the north. I'm like, can you do that through there? And does this open up the whole base? And then later, does that mean that your bases are much more exposed because you can knock down all the trees? I don't know, guys. This is why I'm getting excited, because there's already so many mechanics that were never in StarCraft 2 that are being shown here. And I just think it's super, super interesting. And you can kind of see right here the defense that Kevin is trying to set up. You can see multiple turrets down here. You can see the siege tank kind of in a, you know what? What is this unit actually called? I'm not super familiar with these names just yet, and I'm literally reading this stuff for the very first time. So yeah, the Vulcan is the one with the Gatling gun that has to charge up, which is super cool. And then the Atlas, a long-range artillery mech that rained down area of effect damage. With the Purification Ordnance upgrade, its attacks leave behind a damaging field of flames. Atlas attacks cause friendly fire damage. No pun intended. Haha, friendly fire, get it. And so basically you're seeing their mindset going into this is it's kind of like a siege tank that leaves behind splash damage, or I guess damage over time on the ground, but its shots are so slow. And I saw a lot of people talking about this on the Stormgate Reddit, like, is the splash, or is the orb moving too slow? Blah, blah, blah. That's the kind of stuff that really, sorry if this is distracting, guys. I've always liked to use just one ear exposed, so I hope it's not too distracting, have my headset all crazy. But I don't really want to talk about balance. This is pre-alpha. People don't even have their hands on the game yet. But you're just kind of starting to see the idea that they have behind these units. And
I have a pretty smooth path of attack here.
Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, TLO. And so you can basically see this as kind of a multi-pronged attack, getting the sandwich in. And this is something that you normally wouldn't see on StarCraft at a natural, because there's usually only one entrance on a natural. So to be able to kind of create that second entrance, he's actually using it to his advantage. He didn't even make, okay, hold on, maybe, okay, we're just gonna do this. It was even distracting to me. But that entrance wasn't even made by TLO, but he is taking advantage of it right now. And even with the static defense here, even with the Atlas trying to get it in my brain, I'm a very slow learner when it comes to new stuff, so I'm gonna try and say correctly. Even the Atlas in position, not able to do all that much because a lot of that damage can be dodged. And you can see the blue flames there, leaving that damage on the ground. That Atlas does go down, and there is going to be a quick GG. Obviously, I assume they're going to work on the graphics here as far as the chat and all that. But there you go, Wishlist on Steam. We are just getting started. So play Stormgate.com as well. So that is all that. Don't know if you guys could really hear the music, but it gives me Diablo vibes, which I'm kind of a big fan of. It's like a mix of Terran and Diablo vibes, which based on the music I heard when I was playing the game at their offices, it was really awesome. So I think I just want to go back really quick. Like when you start to first see all of these different units, it's just so interesting to me, everything that's going on here. So I will talk really quick. Okay, we're gonna readjust because we're doing this in one take. The primary resource is called Luminite, which is the, that big kind of clump in the main base. Let's see. Use to pay for nearly everything. Can be mined by 12 bobs, which are the workers. It's so funny. I love the abbreviations. BOB, SCV. I'm into it. Before severe diminishing returns. So, yeah, once you have 12 miners there, it looks like, then it slowly starts to get diminishing returns, so not really worth it. And then Therium. Is it Therium or Therium? Kind of reminds me of Tiberium. It's the secondary resource, and they say the visual is temporary. Mostly used to pay for advanced units and structures and upgrades. Gradually spreads and enriches when unmined, providing players with strategic options about where and when they should expand. Therium appears in various forms that each have different gameplay mechanisms, including exposed patches and underground veins. So what's really interesting about this is they're basically saying it's like Tiberium, where it starts to expand if you don't mine it. So the longer expansions aren't taken, it's going to be expanding more and more and more, which is super fascinating. And I think that that's a really cool, like for a long game, I think that can come into a big effect, which is really awesome. And I've always been a big fan of Command & Conquer, so it's really cool to see that. But also, I think you can kind of see some of it down here, right here. You can see different colors on it and all of that. But they did say that is placeholder, and they're still deciding exactly what they want to use it for. But I think that's a really cool mechanic. It gives some diversity. They were also saying, I can't remember if it's in this deck or something they said in an interview, but they like the idea that one worker mining it takes a long time to mine, but they're carrying a larger batch. So that actually makes long distance mining almost, I don't know if I want to say worth it, but it's something that could be viable in certain situations. Because if he's carrying back a lot of those resources, it's kind of like in WarCraft almost, where when you're mining lumber, sometimes the trip is kind of long, but it's still worth it, even if you don't have a lumber mill nearby or an expansion. And so I think that that's going to be something really interesting that is different than StarCraft, is really different than a lot of other games. But same thing with Command & Conquer. Like in Command & Conquer, your base was all, for the most part, compact. And so once you mined out your main Tiberium fields, you started to have to travel further and further distances, but it's still worth it. And you're still getting quite a bit of that resource. So that is something super cool. And one main thing I really, really want to talk about, maybe I'll just let this play for a second. The background just muted, is the... And I've seen a lot of posts about this, but I really want to talk about the graphics in this game. I think when people were first seeing it, they were, I don't want to say shocked or even surprised. I think a reaction was, well, it basically looks like League of Legends. It basically looks like Fortnite. It basically looks like, not as grungy and as dark as StarCraft 2. And I honestly have been thinking about it quite a bit. And I am very excited for it for a couple of reasons. One, if you go back and watch a lot of my old casts, really hard to tell what's going on. The map is dark, the units are dark, creep is dark, the mood is dark, space is dark. Like, there's so much darkness going on that literally if you're watching at a low resolution, you can't see the Zerglings, you can't see a lot of what is actually going on. And I get that that's like a style that people like. I mean, I love it. I'm not saying that it is the worst choice. However, games like League of Legends, they make it where it's very easy to see what's going on screen, and you're not super distracted by the terrain. And it's... I literally watched a video yesterday because I was thinking about how I wanted to react to this video. And it was when they first showed at BlizzCon the different stages of alpha. And one of them, at one stage, they made creep reflective, almost like glass, almost like a mirror. And they said they quickly got rid of that because it was so distracting. So it's too much detail. It's shiny. It's like kind of mirroring literally your units. So it almost looks like there's twice as many units in a way. And it was something where they realized this is not worth it and let's get rid of it. And so at the end of the day, I personally love the graphical direction, because A, it's a little bit different. They're not completely stealing the style of any other RTS out there, in my opinion. And B, I do think it gives it more of that mainstream appeal where it's similar to a lot of the biggest games out there. So I am really curious on your guys' thoughts. What do you think about the graphics direction? Obviously, the units can change, the structures can change, even the amount of detail can change. But I just love, like, what you're looking at on screen. You can tell everything that's going on immediately. It looks like there's some sort of power-up over there on the left side, actually, the purple one. I don't know if they actually ended up grabbing that. But even the doodads, I just think they're so fun, so colorful. And I really think that while there may be some maps that are kind of darker tile set, I think overall being able to clearly see what's going on is huge. And I think it's a good thing. You know, maybe I'm wrong, but whatever. And to me, the gameplay is by far the most important, not really if the graphics are a little too cartoony or not for me. Because when you're in the heat of the moment and you're playing and you're like sweating bullets, you're not going to be like, oh, well, that chicken doodad right there is too cartoony. I'm totally not enjoying this game. To me, it's like 99% the gameplay is what matters. And if having the graphics be a little bit unique in the RTS genre, I think that's kind of cool. It looks like the little healer medic unit there can actually attack as well, which is kind of cool. It'll keep it from running into its own death. So yeah, Bob is the worker. Scout, SCOUT. It's an abbreviation as well. There is the ability to, well, scout, you guessed it. These robot dogs with freaking laser eyes have heightened senses that can even identify the presence of enemies still concealed by the fog of war. So that's what we saw before. That's kind of what I thought, is maybe it was the scout had an activated ability. It does. So it's a warning howl. And then Lancer is the blade-swinging frontline soldiers with long reach, which is kind of some of the units that you're seeing, or at least you were seeing. I think they're mostly dead now. Maybe there's one left right there. So it's basically Lancer. And Exo is a versatile soldier armed with a reliable rifle, can pick up the double time upgrade to temporarily increase its movement speed. If it shoots during this period, it fires 2 shots instead, then reverts to normal speed. So yeah, basically a stim pack. MedTech, hefty support unit that can heal and repair allies and enhance nearby forces. With MedTech adept training, can unleash swarm of nanobots, either attack an enemy or heal an injured ally. I think that's what we saw a little bit before. As this is going to start replaying for us. Okay, cool. At least give you something to watch in the background. And so that's kind of cool. Atlas, we already talked about. The evac transport ships that pick up and drop off allied units, including a deployed Atlas to reposition them strategically or whisk them away from danger. So I think that used to be a thing in StarCraft 2 where you could pick up siege tanks. But that's kind of the vibe that they want to be giving right now, where you can pick up the Atlas. It doesn't have to set up that siege tank mode. You can actually move it around, which is really cool. Fires piercing rounds that can punch through multiple units in a straight line, dealing damage to all of them. Oh, sorry, that was the Vulcan. So yeah, he's basically saying for that can actually deal damage. That is so cool. What it says for the Vulcan's fires piercing rounds that can punch through multiple units in a straight line, dealing damage to all of them. Super, super awesome. And then for the human structures, command post, which makes the workers. Command post can trigger overcharge on nearby Bob units, temporarily diverting power to combat systems. So you can make your workers attack more, which reminds me of the humans in Warcraft 3. Pretty cool. And Tier 3, it's interesting that they mentioned this here. They haven't shown any units from Tier 3. So a lot of people, I think, were making judgments. A, the game's in pre-alpha. You know, you can only react to so much. But B, they haven't shown the Tier 3 units yet, which I think will be super cool to see. Then they have a habitat, increases supply. You must build these to expand your army. So basically a supply depot. There are some interesting things about the habitat that I was learning as I was playing the game. I'm curious if any of that information is public yet, but just know the habitat, at least when I was playing the game, are much more interesting than just a supply depot. Obviously, supply depot, it's literally just serving, like, make a wall, supply, that what you can supply, drop it, whatever. It's a supply depot. But the habitat, similar to a supply depot, but there's a lot of unique features about it that I thought was really, really cool. But I don't want to talk about them because I don't see them focusing on that at all in this. And so maybe it's changed since I've even played it. So I don't want to put that wrong information out there. The barracks produces tier 1 units such as the Scout, and the Lancer and the MedTech. The Mech Bay, production facility for Vulcan, Atlas, and more. So that's basically your factory. Therium refinery, secondary resource drop-off, and research for various passive upgrades. Biokinetics lab, research upgrades for infantry. Mechanics lab, research upgrades for mechanical air units. and it says it has a conveyor belt, which is super important. I think people really like that little doodad aspect. And then sentry turret, target ground and air, provides some peace of mind. And I can tell you from when I played the game, they're still trying to figure out what defensive structures look like, and it's actually evolved since I've already played it, so I won't talk about what it used to be, but just saying that this game, even since I played a couple of games, which wasn't that long ago, has completely grown, adapted, evolved, and has just gotten better and better from when I played. So hopefully I can play some more games in the future. Hopefully I have some stuff to show you guys. But let me know down in the comments what. Oh no, Dario, I'll do. There you go. Let's give you a better face. I don't want to do you like that, Dario. You know what? I do love you, Dario. But let's do. What screen do we want to end on? I mean, this is so freaking cool, man. Just love seeing these type of battles in an RTS where so many RTS games out there just completely missed the mark. So to me, this shows that the game has a lot of potential. And hold on, we're doing this live. So we're going to go back to just the camera. Hey! So anyways, that was super fun. How long was this? Like 30 minutes just kind of rambling on about essentially what's a 2-minute gameplay video. But let me know down in the comments below, guys. Are you excited for Stormgate? Will you be checking it out? Have you wishlisted it? I'm trying to think of what else. I mean, it's going to be a free-to-play game, guys. The only thing I can say is I think we should give them a chance. I recently downloaded, over the last couple of months, I downloaded over 20 RTS games. And while there are some good ones out there, they just don't have the replayability of StarCraft. And even with Age of Empires, like I love Age of Empires, but I have a hard time getting into it where I want to be playing it constantly. I did watch some pro games though, and honestly, AoE 2 pro games are like insane. They're so fun. My heart rate is like through the roof. Pro AoE is actually, it's like a whole different game. Like, I don't even know how to explain it. It is wild. It is super fun to watch. I could never play at that level at all. But let me know also down in the comments below, as the game is released to people, what type of content do you want to see for Stormgate? I'm thinking I'm gonna be focusing on it and at least playing it. I feel like we gotta do Bronze League Heroes. We gotta do Imba League as soon as the map editor is available. We gotta do Ladder Anxiety because that'll be hilarious to say. I of course want to check out some pro games as well. But again, this channel won't be just Stormgate, so just be aware of that. But I do want to have a lot of fun with the game as it comes out. I'm super excited. Just looking at this screenshot, man, gets me excited and makes me want to log in and play some StarCraft 2 right now. So anyways, hope you guys enjoy it, and let me know what else you'd like to see. And I think that's it. Give the video a thumbs up. I don't know. What are we supposed to say these days for the good old algorithm? Anyways, hope you guys enjoy it, and of course, I'll see you guys next time.